so this one, number 6. Our domain is what it's doing on forever this way and forever east and west. Well, this one is forever going west, so that's negative infinity. But I have a stopping point right here when I go east, so it's at 1, 2, 3. All right, and then if I had to put my lowest point and my highest point for my graph, when it goes west, it's forever going west, but it's also forever going north. So it's kind of like northwest. And so that's going to be infinity. And then it's going forever southwest. So that's negative infinity. So kind of like this one, okay? This one went forever south, forever north, and it was all reals. So my range is all real numbers, but my domain is not. My domain is forever going to the west. Okay, so interval notation would look like this. You can never touch infinity or negative infinity, so we get a parentheses. We are at 3, so we can put a bracket. Another way that you might see that is they have to lead out with x. So will x be greater than or equal to or less than or equal to 3? Well, if I'm looking at all my x's, they're always going to be less than 3. I don't have any on this side. They're always on the left side. So it's going to be this inequality. Is it a function? Check your vertical line test. So by vertical line test, if I just draw the first one, it crosses right there. 1, 2. Same vertical line, crosses my graph twice. So no, fails the vertical line test. But I still have zeros. Does this graph cross my x-axis? Yes. Where? Boom, right there. Okay? So that's my 0. 1, 2, 3. And I'm done. Okay? So that's 1 through 6. Okay, for number 7 and 8, if your equation is in the form of y equals or f of x, which that's the same thing, f of x equals negative 2x plus 5, then what you can do is go to your graph page. Now, nowhere does it tell me that I can do that, but if you're in my class and you use the TI Npire CX, then you can let the calculator do most of that work for you. So we always want to go to a new document. So hit your home button and choose new document. Always say no. So you can start with a clean slate. So we are going to open up a graph page, so you can just press the number 2. And there we are. That's our y. F of x is y. And that's here. So we're going to start out with negative 2x plus 5. Enter. Okay, so we see our graph. And now we want to fill in this table. So we're going to hit Control T. Control, letter T. And we automatically get our table. So our table, we're looking for 0. So this column right here, the first one, is our x's. So here's 1, and it starts 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to go up 1. And there's x is 0. So my y is 5. 1 is 3. 3 is negative 1. And 5, I got to go down just a little bit more. And now I have 5 is x, and my y is negative 5. Okay? And we already know what the graph looks like. We can find the zeros, okay? So if we want to get rid of the table, we can hit Control T and it goes away. All right, this is a free one. All right, if you want to find your y-intercept, you can go right here. You can find your x-intercept, but x-intercept is not called x-intercept. Your x-intercept is called zeros. So to find that point right there, you're going to go to Menu. We go to Analyze Graph. Go to 0. Okay, so then you get this dotted line. You have this, if you look at your line, it was blinking just a minute ago, but anyway. All right, click your mouse once. Okay, so I clicked and I drug my mouse, and so I have the shaded region here. And then it tells me that I found the zeros, and it tells me what my 0 is. Okay? So here, my 0, I only have one of them, and it is 2.5. And does that make sense? Well, yes, because it's over here on my positive axis, and it is between 2 and 3. So now what I want to do is I want to find what my y-intercept is. Well, this one, it actually intersects right on that point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I know for certain that that's what that is? What would be my x value if I wanted the y-intercept? Well, if we're looking for the y-intercept, which is one of the things that we've been doing, the y-intercept, I would be looking for my y value when my x is 0. Do I already know that? Yes, I already know my y-intercept, because if you go back to your table and you know that you're looking for x is 0, this right here is our y-intercept. Zero, 5. And that's where it intersects on my y-axis. So that will help you in the future, for sure. All right, so for number 6, we're going to go to another graph page, okay? So we want to insert another page. So just Control Dock, or you can do Control I. So I'm just going to do Control I. And I'm going to open up another graph page. And I am going to be doing number 8. So if I want to insert a fraction, I'm going to hit Control Divide. Control Divide for fractions. And then I'm just going to put 3, 2, and x, and minus 1. Enter. Control T. Okay, so I'm going to complete my table. Where x is -2, I'm just going to go up. Here's x is -2, and it tells me that my y is -4. 0 is at -1. 2 is 2. And 4 is 5. This 0, -1 is my y-intercept. So now what I want to know is, do I have any zeros? If so, what are they? Zeros, well, does your graph cross the x-axis? Yes, if you look closely at your graph. I just need to know what that point is, because it's not exactly on the 1, okay? And I'm also looking for zeros would be, I'm looking for x when y is 0. All right, so I've got a problem here. I can't find it in my table, because if you're looking in your table, we have -1 for y, then it goes 0.5, then it goes to 2. So there's an issue here. It doesn't exist, because the only thing that we can pull up here is what y value goes with my integers for x. Okay, and remember, integers are your positives and your negatives, and there's no fractions or decimals for integers. Okay, all right, so how am I going to find that? Well, algebraically, okay, using algebra, I can go up here and I can plug in my y is 0, or I can go to my graph and I can trace. Okay, so let's do this one because you do need to know how to solve. So if I plug in y is 0, how do I solve this when I plug in y 0? So I replace that. Okay, here's my wall. So now I'm going to, if this says -1, I'm going to add 1 over here. We're just going to undo using our inverse property. So -1 plus 1, they're opposites. They are the inverse of each other. So now I have 1 is equal to 3 over 2, or another way of saying that is 3 divided by 2. So now I have 3 over 2 with my x. Well, I need to get rid of both of them, but the one that I need to get rid of first is my 2. So if this says 3 divided by 2, the inverse of divide is multiply. So over here, I need to be multiplying. So now 2 times 1 is 2 equals 3 times x when they're together like that. So to undo times, I'm going to divide. So 3 goes away, I divide on this side. So our intersection, our 0, intersection of the x-axis is at 2 over 3. Just for fun, okay, this is another calculator skill. How would you know if all of your answer choices were decimals? How would you know what this was using the Npire calculator? Open up a calculator page, so just Control-I again, calculator, and you're going to say, you can do Control divide and do 2 over 3. And while you're here in your edit line, you're just going to hit Control Enter. And there's your decimal. 0.666667. Okay? So it would be about 0.67. And I used squigglies because it's about equal.